Hello, I'm BrigantiaBlackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday and welcome to the introduction to Lughnasadh. Lughnasadh is the first harvest festival of the year and it's typically observed around August 1st. At long last, we are beginning to gather in the product of what we have planted throughout the year. This is a time of celebration, but also a time of sadness. It is a time of sacrifice for the sake of ensuring survival. It is a time for the wheel to turn again. Let's talk about the mythology just a little bit. We have the god Lu and his foster mother Tialtu. Lu was separated from his mother early in his life. His grandfather Balor, who was afraid of being overthrown by Lu one day, ripped Lu from his mother's arms and cast him into the sea, hoping he would drown. But Manannán, who was god of the sea, rescued Lu and he became his foster father. And then Lu came to be in the care of Tialtu, wife of Echoed mac Eric, who was the last Firbolg High King of Ireland. Lu and Tialtu had an outstanding relationship, and they truly became mother and son. Tialtu was an earth goddess and is best known for clearing the lands of Ireland for agriculture, and then she died of exhaustion. In honor of his foster mother's sacrifice, Lu held funeral rites and sporting events in her honor. This also became a celebration of the first fruits of the harvest as well as that of Lu's marriage. The Sabbat has quite a few different layers and textures. There's joy and sadness, celebration and harvest, but also grief and sacrifice. And one of the major themes of Lughnasadh is sacrifice, but what does that mean for us today? Depending on your tradition, some people consider Lughnasadh as being the time of the ritual death of the god, and it's thought that he sacrifices his life force, pours it into the earth to ensure that a good harvest will go on so that life can continue. Another interpretation is that this time of year represents the god at midlife, still vigorous, strong, powerful, but he's at the height of his necessary work, expending his precious energy to make the harvest happen. The effort isn't quite claiming his life, but he is giving it his all, his energy, passion, and commitment into the task. Sacrifice is about choices. It's about setting priorities and making decisions about what matters most and what cannot be abandoned, and what things can be let go of or set aside for the moment. During the harvest, bringing in the crops literally makes the difference between life and death. Nothing is more important than that, because without adequate food, civilization collapses and people literally die, which is why we see farmers who are faithfully making that sacrifice of their time, energy, and resources in order to make that happen. But what about less literally? Harvesting on the spiritual level. We don't get more out of our spirituality than what we put into it. That much is clear and self-evident from experience. There's a lot of also the question about what seeds did we plant and what did we nurture? What did we give up in order to get our harvest? That's what we're being called upon to examine and reflect upon this season. There are quite a few common correspondences that we might incorporate into our Lughnasadh celebrations. I want to mention just a few very briefly. First, all the grains, particularly barley, corn, and wheat, are especially appropriate. Any other agricultural product that's being harvested in your area at the time is also suitable to incorporate. For trees, you might consider the acacia, apple, myrtle, oak, and rowan. Fruits, blackberries in particular. They have a very strong association with Lughnasadh. But other plants you might include would be gorse, aloe, and ginseng. Animals, first we have chickens, especially roosters, and then cattle, but particularly bulls and calves. But also I think any representation of any farm animal would make sense on the altar at this time, and of course going into the rest of the harvest season. For stones, you might use citrine, peridot, or brown jasper. And when it comes to colors, I would suggest actually looking to the colors that are prevalent in nature in your area at this time to guide your choices. Beyond that, the beginnings of the harvest colors that reflect the beginning of the transition of the season will work well, but always look to what's going on in your natural surroundings first. What's happening here in Missouri will look very different than what's going on in Minnesota and still different from what's going on in Texas. So don't be afraid to really tailor things to your specific area. Now, over the next few weeks, we will be going into a bit more detail about activities, foods, and rituals. It may feel a bit strange to talk about the beginning of the harvest since we're in the middle of summer, But Lughnasadh is August 1st, and it's too late to prepare after the event takes place. So I hope you'll tune in next week for the next installment as we continue this discussion. But that will do it for now. First, let me know what you think, either in the comment section below or come see us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There is a link to join in the description box below, and we would love to have you there. But in the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.